Hello everyone and welcome to the Smashi Business Show. Today is Monday, March 9, 2026 and I'm Abdul Majid Awan.
And I'm Richard Fitzgerald.
First of all, the headlines are really interesting today. Oil is rising as everything else is falling everywhere. ADNOC says its operations continue despite disruptions to shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, and businesses across the Gulf are rushing to buy political violence insurance. Very interesting concept. That's a report by FT. But first of all, Rich, how's everything? How are you? How's everything basically?
You know, we're remaining calm. We're safe in the UAE, particularly. We're not at a state of war, despite the fake news from the Jerusalem Post saying that we were attacking back yesterday. You know, as is the nature of media. We discussed this last week, Majid. But you know that it's difficult. Augustus Media have 8 offices in 6 countries, 3 offices in this country. You know, and we have remote people in other places that were evacuated from their homes in Bahrain. The Qatar offices still work remotely, and you know we have teams in Abu Dhabi who are feeling the threats a bit, and but you know the Egypt office is performing as normal. That country has stayed out of harm's way for now. Luckily, alhamdulillah, and we're happy that they're safe. But happy isn't the right word at this time. It's really a terrible situation, unprecedented, and it has consequences that will bear for a long time to come.
Yeah, but what we saw in the morning, it's a very long story. That's why if we jump quickly to it, we're tracking a dramatic surge in global energy markets this Monday after the US-Israeli joint strike on the sovereign territory of Iran, now in its 10th day, has sent oil prices soaring to their highest levels since 2022. Brent crude futures have spiked to $117.16 per barrel. That's a staggering 30% jump in just 10 days. West Texas Intermediate crude reached an intraday high of $118, and the culprit is the escalating military conflict, what we've just described now. But here's what's most striking. Gulf crude oil is also trading at dramatically different prices than the US oil, while West Texas Intermediate sits around $76 to $79. Murban crude, this is the UAE's benchmark, has surged past $112 per barrel. That nearly $40 gap tells you everything where traders think the real risk is.
Yeah, so the Strait of Hormuz, which is that narrow patch of water between the top of the UAE and Oman and into Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is the critical waterway through which 20% of the world's oil passes each day, is now the focal point of global energy anxiety. Iran has been attacking ships in the strait, and over the weekend the US and Israeli forces struck Iranian oil infrastructure. There was a report in the FT saying that the ships switch off their identifiers. They actually rename their ships for a brief period so they can pass through. They say they're Chinese ships, and that's whatever they say they are. There's nothing against it. Whatever they put in their dashboard, gets picked up by the radars, and it's a time-old sea tradition trick to do, and it's happening, and they do it, and it's a full report in FT about it. But they're all sort of like, it's like ducking, like in a submarine or camouflage for a while. But yeah, refiners are now paying record premiums just to secure physical barrels of oil. Dubai cash premium hit $19.63 per barrel on March 5th, the highest level record since records began in 2018. So major producers, including the UAE and Kuwait, are already cutting production as storage tanks fill with oil cannot move. And I think Kuwait are one of the countries that might go into force majeure as well on oil, which will knock this higher. People have bets and shorts on oil up to $135 a barrel, and people are trying to cash in and make money and sort of gamble on this. Experts warn that if the strait actually becomes disrupted, these prices gains are just the beginning.
And the oil rally isn't happening in isolation. Asian markets opened today sharply in the red this morning, with major indices, we follow Nikkei and Hang Seng always, signaling deep investor concerns. So Japan's Nikkei 225 plunged 2892 points, a stunning 5.20% decline. Hong Kong's Hang Seng dropped 490 points, falling 1.91%. Meanwhile, in the United States, future markets are pointing to significant losses. At the open, S&P 500 futures, 108 points down, 1.16% down. Dow futures have fallen 863 points, again, nearly 2% down. Nasdaq futures are down 416 points, off 1.69%. And the sell-off signals that markets are pricing in, obviously raising energy costs and broader economic headwinds. When oil spikes this dramatically, everything else tends to follow.
Now to the Gulf markets themselves, where local indices are feeling the pressure despite the regional oil windfall on Monday. So ADX in Abu Dhabi opened down 168 points, declining 1.7% to 9,735. That's a significant sell-off for the region's largest stock exchange. In Dubai, the situation is even more pronounced. The DFM general index dropped 204 points, sliding 3.46% to 5712. That's a sharp decline. Saudi's Tadawul index fared slightly better, down just 20 basis points, or 0.18%, closing 10,986. The relatively modest decline suggests some stability there.
Yeah, and Saudi Tadawul was up 2% yesterday. It's very interesting. All the big markets that we follow, EGX 30, it's down, DFM, ADX, Qatar is down because Saudi has stayed, I think it's become kind of the safe haven for the Gulf markets because everyone is putting
What's
money
Aramco?
there. Aramco is also up.
Well, Aramco would be a large part of the Tadawul, wouldn't it? Because it was
they're the bellwether. They're like, if that goes down, the whole Tadawul goes down.
But obviously Aramco's is the price of oil. So if they were selling at $70 a barrel a few weeks ago, and now they're at 117.
Even if they sell at a discount, right now they're up.
Yeah.
If it's 117 right now and it keeps going up and we hit that 135, 150 mark, the Qatar Energy Minister Saad Al-Kabi, remember on Friday, the exclusive came out on FT, reported it, and he was like, it will go to 150 if this continues to more 2 or 3 weeks. This will go up to 150.
Yeah.
And that's unimaginable, to be honest, like 150.
It looks like Israel, with US backing, hit 30 different oil refineries in Tehran mainly, and it's put oil in the air, which is obviously has lots of ramifications health-wise. But there seemed to be some commentary around whether that was agreed upon to hit that hard and the knock-on effect of what they would do. And there was a lot of oil attacks last night across the region. We saw Kuwait, we saw Bahrain, and reportedly Fujairah as well. So that's why we are watching these markets and these prices. And Trump has been quoted as saying, short-term pain for long-term gain. In other words, he said we knew the oil price would go up, but he said it's going to come down very fast as well. But as this whole scenario escalates out of control, who can even say how it can come down so fast so soon? Unless they surrender. Because the
funny thing about all of this, and I would like to pick your brain on it, it's a little geopolitical.
Funny,
it's a little geopolitical, but it obviously concerns business because we see so much happening right now. But what is Trump's actual thing that he wants to achieve? Because every time we see he's selling watches, I just saw an ad, CNBC.
I think that was from October last year, but
but that's happening there's so much misinformation. But whatever he comes and says, there's 3 points, I think. One is he wants to liberate the people of Iran. The second is then it's an evil regime and they were trying to attack us. What does he actually want out of it? Does he want to liberate Iranian people?
The comms around the purpose of war and their script that they've been saying has been so. There's no definite script here. The spokespeople are saying different things. It's even not sure about who decided to go in first and why the reason was. There's no reason for this, really. There's no. Everyone's confused, and then the way media is and the way narratives are, you have people in the Gulf now talking about why Iran shouldn't have attacked them. We've moved on from why it even started in the first place. And this is just part of what's happened, is that everything's out of control. There's no grip on it. They've lost the narrative. He's lost whatever narrative he had. There is no narrative. There's no justification. you know, he said, she said, the most evil person in the world. Okay, cool, but they say you are. You know, like it's just one of these things, and we're caught in the middle, right? Like where we are, but I think the leadership here, not just not just in the way that the comms is coming out, but the actual calmness here. You know, like an hour after October 7th, the Prime Minister was saying we're in a state of war, right? An hour after last Saturday, our leaders weren't saying we're in a state of war. In fact, they haven't said that. And they haven't said that we're in a state of emergency, right? But we are in a way, right? But they haven't sort of declared that because they want to control it. And it's for our safety and everything. So to the question on the, you know, who knows, like, but it just depends on how we frame these things, like, you know, how we frame these things in terms of there's the war aspect of it, which is safety and, you know, human casualties and the reality of that. And then there's the economic aspect of it, of which war has an impact, big impact. And, you know, there's projections on recessions already. There's many things like that. And, you know, as we were just saying, you know, when and if it ends, as all things do inevitably come to an end, you know, how long will it take for the oil price to go back up? But how long will it take to build trust up? You know, like what are the scenario models of Dubai tourism impact? How, you know, we talk about $1 million an hour in impacting Dubai airport through the disruption, as is quoted. But what is the disruption on sentiment on tourism, on the region, on Emirates airline, on how people travel around the world? Like what is the impact of that, and how do you factor in that? But I think like there's one positive economically, Majid, and you've obviously covered it in length, is that we're on the back of 5 bumper years. Coffers are full, right? Like, you know, there's definitely high GDPs, there's definitely tailwind behind us. And that tailwind is going to flip, and it's going to be a headwind now for a bit, for sure, like the strap in, like it's definitely going to be like that. No one can put a time frame on it, but there's definitely impact here. What's happened the last 7 days is not going to disappear in
the next 7 days.
With 10 days,
it will take at least a year or two to rebuild.
Well, you can't put a timeline around it because you don't know, because we don't even know if we're in the worst of it. Like you can't necessarily put a timeline on it, but what you can say is that the impact will already have an impact. So you know, everyone has personal decisions to make. Every business has business decisions to make. But so you know, obviously this is a big energy region, and you know, what we're watching today is you know, big impacts on oil prices, on, you know, LNG prices, on gas, and you know, we've seen the videos. We've seen service stations all over the world. With lines outside them. You mentioned Pakistan, and since we spoke last week, it's just escalated, right? There was a report in Bangladesh, I think this morning, that they're telling people to stay at home because of oil prices, not because of air. We're staying at home some days for what's happening in the sky. They're staying at home what's happening in the gas station. And I've heard in Thailand it's the same. And, you know, lines outside the stations and things like that. Like, the price of oil goes up. The price of oil hits the pocket further in non-oil countries.
No, the price in Pakistan has already been increased. They're doing it week by week. They already increased 51 rupees. 51 rupees for a normal person it's like 51 dirhams. So for them, it's a lot. It's gone to 371. Again, comparison to global prices is the same, but relatively, it's very expensive right now to buy oil in Pakistan or any other country in the Asian country. But the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, ADNOC, says its operations are continuing despite the blockade linked to the ongoing conflict between all the people that are in this. In a statement, ADNOC said it is actively managing offshore production to deal with strong storage constraints while onshore facilities remain fully operational. Basically, they're saying we have oil offshore and in places which are safe, so they'll supply oil from there. The company added that it is using export infrastructure that bypasses the Strait of Hormuz, which we recently talked about, 20% of world oil, along with international storage facilities to ensure oil supplies continue reaching global markets.
So the Strait normally carries around 20% of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas. LNG. Elsewhere in the region, Saudi Aramco has begun diverting some crude shipments to the Red Sea port of Yanbu to maintain deliveries, but analysts warn alternative routes may not fully replace the massive volumes normally shipped through the Gulf.
It's very important to understand this Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz. I think it's been always controlled by Iran, and whenever there is a conflict, it's the first thing that closes, or it's the Egyptian. What's the name of the Egyptian one?
The Suez Canal.
Suez Canal. That it's always these two chokehold points which are always affected. Egypt, I think, because of the
shipping really in the Suez Canal.
Shipping, yeah. And every time, whenever there is a conflict, these two places are the ones that pop up, and then the whole world goes into a turmoil. But and one is controlled by Egypt, completely owned by Egypt, so controlled by Egypt. They faced billions of dollars of losses last year because of all the Israel genocide in Gaza, because Yemeni Houthis were not allowing ships, they were bombing ships. So countries are facing problems because of that. But there is a very interesting story which I found today, and it's really interesting to talk about it. Businesses across the Gulf are rushing to buy political violence insurance. I heard about health, a lot of them. This one is new for me. As regional conflict raises concerns about potential damage to major commercial assets, and insurance brokers say demand has surged from companies operating three main things: data centers, energy projects, ports and hotels. These are the three things, three companies, three industries which are buying them. And the firms are seeking protection against risks such as missile strikes, terrorism, sabotage, and civil unrest. This is part of the law that governs this insurance.
Yeah, so the spike in demand follows rising tensions linked to the conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran, which has already disrupted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, a key global energy corridor. As we've mentioned, industry executives say premiums for political violence coverage have jumped sharply, in some cases multiplying several times compared with pre-conflict levels. Yeah, there's a lot of new things in this. Like we talked last week about Kalshi and betting on whether someone dies, and is death because of, so there's a lot of things like that. I think force majeure has been mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
People are checking contracts. And then insurance, like what sort of level insurance does one have and who takes it out?
I think the insurance problem also came to when the rains came. A lot of people were like, oh, does it cover? And they were like, no, you have to go for natural hazards coverage. Otherwise, it won't be covered. So insurance companies are always in whenever something happens. It is one of the biggest industries in the world, obviously. But insurance are warning that the conflict is increasing what they call accumulation risk, the possibility that multiple incidents across the region could trigger large simultaneous claims. So they have to cover themselves, and the people who have the assets, they have to cover themselves. But just before we leave, there's a very interesting, it's a time when everyone is commenting on something. But IHC chief, G42 chief, he's the head of a lot of things. His Highness Sheikh Tanoon said on his social media that national unity is key to stability and progress. And he said that the UAE will continue moving forward with confidence, highlighting leadership strength, military readiness, and institutional resilience. This comes from a person who sits on nearly $1.8 trillion of wealth as the chair.
And as you mentioned earlier, ADX is the biggest in the region because largely by HC. But he's one of the spokespeople that have come out. We've heard His Highness Mohammed bin Zayed as well speak at the hospital.
I really liked the quote where he said that our skin is bitter and it's not easy to attack us and go away with it. Which is a really nice gesture from the leadership.
Yeah, it was, and it's good to have. I think we had Her Excellency Rima Hashmi speak on CNN last week as well, and we've seen people in Qatar come out and speak in different interviews. I think the region has a lot of good spokespeople now, and government. We saw Khalif al-Habtour write a long message that was picked up internationally.
Everyone
picked it up, and you've got another one here.
Yeah, Aramic's founder Fadi Gandour says Dubai remains an unmatched global business hub. He put up a whole points list. I think there were 15 points, and every question was answered with a yes. So he reaffirmed confidence in Dubai, arguing the Emirates continues to offer one of the world's most complete environments for business, talent, and global connectivity. The next one is very interesting because I recently saw something, Rich. Arab entrepreneur Noor Al Hassan, she's the founder of Tarjuma AI. She was speaking at Web Summit. I caught one of her sessions. And she's also urged the shift from Middle East label to Arab world identity. I think
Yeah, I
it's
really
a very
like that
big
one. Yeah, it's a good one actually. Yeah, we should do it as I like this one. Yeah.
Yeah, and she says that we shouldn't call it Middle East because it was in reference to London at some point in Britain. But Tarjuma AI, I don't know if you've noticed it. If you go to Netflix, Amazon, and all these places, if you're watching something, at the end, if somehow you go to the credits, it says Tarjuma.ai. So all the Arabic subtitles, they're being done by her startup, Tarjuma AI. And it says Tarjuma AI from Jordan. So I think they're headquartered in Jordan.
Yeah.
They have an office in Dubai. So it's so interesting to see they're working with some big giants. And I recently noticed it and I was telling my wife that, look, this is a company I know this founder, I follow her. Her company is doing the subtitling for these giants in the region.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
You know, though, Majid, I've been watching a lot of the Shahads and the Watch It and the regional shows in Ramadan, and not all of them have subtitles as a base. And the problem is the shows that some of the shows have subtitles on some episodes and not others. You know how to really
That's interesting.
Really, like it's hit or miss. If I'm watching a show with subtitles, it's generally hit or miss on the night which episode has subtitles. I kind of little cheer when it has subtitles.
Wow.
But yeah, no, so they're doing their best. It's a lot better this year. I saw a post on LinkedIn how many shows there are. There's over 100 Ramadan shows in the region. 15 to 30 episodes. There's a lot, so it's good to see. We saw
a lot of budget to produce them, so it's actually
it's
business
good economy.
Yeah,
It is. It is good, and hopefully they'll get some return as well. But yeah, like you know, we've covered at length the Warner Brothers Discovery acquisition, and then the All3 Media and Banijay acquisition. But in the region, we have many different production companies, lots of funding from streaming services and from other entities, and but yeah, there's a lot happening there. And speaking of the AI side, when we broadcast the national broadcast last week, the team picked up a company called Cram.ai. I think they're an international one, but they have a base in Dubai. They're a bit like 11 Labs that are here as well. But Cram do live translation in the moment, and it's really excellent. So there's lots more AI. You know, I remember like planning for this in our streaming services 6, 7, 8 years ago. But the technology wasn't there. Now it's there, but you just have to sort of figure out how to use it, etc. But it's very, very interesting to see.
It reminds me of a small story. Once in Pakistan, when I was in the newsroom, our editor used to bring a lot of people from a lot of... One was a war journalist. He covered the Afghan war, the Iran war. He covered like 5, 6 wars in his lifetime. But there was an interesting person, a UN translator. He came and I asked him his salary. Me being me, I asked him like, what is the best that you can earn as a translator in the UN? And he was like, what is the best number that comes to you? I was like, $100,000 for a day. He was like, yeah, more than that.
For a day?
Yeah, he was like, because I don't do translation for one person only. I have like 3, 4 people because I'll speak like 6 or 7 languages. So I have multiple things. So from 9 to 5, he makes more than $100,000 per day. And I think this industry will also get disrupted because live
Sounds
translation...
like a lot of money, but
you can just see it on your screen now.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We'll see that. But I think still that human nuisance of some understanding what some phrase means, because AI will take some time to understand.
Definitely, but language does seem to become a little bit agnostic now with digital. Like we're getting there. We'll get there with podcasts. We're already almost there with streaming, and we'll get there with live sports and live commentary and stuff as well. For sure, the Smashi sports matches will have a live commentary translation with AI. Pick a language.
Pick a language. Thank you so much. That's a wrap for today. Thank you for tuning into the Smashi Business Show. Make sure to follow us across all social media channels at Smashi Business. Stay ahead with our daily newsletter. You'll find the subscription link in the description. Someone asked me on the Instagram live that day that I can't see it. It's in the description on other platforms, but we put it on Instagram as well. Thank you. And at this critical moment, it's essential to remain united. Follow guidance by official authorities.
This has been a Smashi Business Show, a Smashi Business production, part of the Gus's Media Podcast Network. A big shout out to 37,000 monthly downloads. You make this possible. If you're one of them, appreciate you. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.